Hey Scrappers, it's Vanessa here, and today I am up on Traci Reed's blog with a blog post. And originally this video was real time, but there was some issues with the audio, so I had to speed it up and do this as a voiceover. But basically for this layout, we are going to actually not do a process video. We are going to actually create embellishment clusters, and that is what the blog post is about. So if you want to check out the blog post and see the written details and some pictures, you can check that out as well. I am playing with the wildflower collection that you see here, so I've gone ahead and printed out all of the ephemera pieces that I wanted to be able to use in my embellishment clusters. And then off to the side here, that's what I'm showing right now, I have gone through and pulled some bits and pieces of other elements that will add texture and interest to my embellishment clusters. So I have everything from sequins to enamel dots to twine to thread to wood, little wood embellishments, and ribbon and trim. At this point, I'm not sure what I want to put in my clusters, but I know I want to add something that's more than just paper. Again, that adds to the interest and the look of your clusters if you can add those kinds of things in. So that's what I am explaining here in the video. I have gone ahead and, like I said, fussy cut all of those elements from the wildflower collection, and then I proceeded to group my embellishment clusters, or group my embellishments, I should say, into piles. So I have a pile of florals and leaves, I have hearts, I have the sneakers that are in the collection, I have all of the little wordy bits, whether they be word strips or little half circles, all of those things that had words in the collection, I went ahead and put those in a pile. Then I have the circular elements. I created their own pile for those because, again, they don't have straight edges, so I like to often add circles to my embellishment clusters to give that more organic feel. I have butterflies, and then I have labels. And so I've separated these all out, and the first thing I'm doing here is I'm going through the larger pieces, and these are what I would call your sort of embellishment bases. So I'm showing that you can go as small as this label to sort of a medium size of the other sort of labels and tags and journaling spots, to the largest being, in my case for today, that sort of lined, rulered notebook piece. So I picked a few. I'm not going to build a ton on camera, but I wanted to pull out a few in various sizes, because to me, when I'm creating my embellishment clusters for pages, I typically like to go and think from largest to smallest. So I like to have one larger embellishment cluster, one medium size, and one small. So that's kind of my thought process when I'm putting my embellishment clusters together. So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to make sure that I have those three sizes created for my embellishment clusters. And then even when I go to pick the embellishments that go into each cluster, I think that same process of small, medium, large, and choose embellishments accordingly. So basically that's what we're going to do on this video. So we're starting with the sort of the largest embellishment cluster that I'm going to make for today. And I'm just going through each of my piles, and I'm grabbing a wide variety of embellishments that I think I could use. And I'm not sure the color, so I'm picking multiple of the sneakers and florals and things like that. So I'm going through and I'm picking multiple items from each embellishment cluster, knowing that I'm not going to use everything, but this gives me sort of a basis to start of, I know I want to put these elements in this embellishment cluster. So that's what you see me doing here. And then I'm going to go off camera, and then we're going to come back and start putting a few of the embellishment clusters together. So again, I'm just going through, picking everything out. The other thing that I did do when I was creating these embellishments, when I printed them out, I did print a few of them on white glitter cardstock. So some of the embellishments do have some glitter to them as well, which again just adds that little extra interest to the clusters. because now I have that textural element of the glitter paper as well. So the other thing that I do talk about in the blog post, but also I do that off camera, is so the other thing that I do is also add foam or fun foam or dimensional adhesive to my embellishments when I create my clusters as well. So again, I get that dimension and lift. So I did want to mention that because I don't necessarily do that piece on camera. So basically here at this point, I am going to start building how I want this first embellishment cluster to look like. Sorry, I'm losing my words. So what I did is, you saw me pick all those different elements. I went off camera and kind of tried to get a general idea of how I wanted to place my embellishments on this embellishment cluster base, I guess you could say. I wanted to get that so it wouldn't be a whole lot of me fiddling around, because it's a little trial and error. I kind of play with things until they are how I want them to look on the page. And I will tell you that these are just sort of my steps that I go through when I'm creating embellishment clusters. There are no right or wrong. You can create all the clusters the same size. You can create them all with the exact same embellishments. You can create them all small, all big. You can not pop anything up. You cannot add anything other than paper. You can add anything and everything. No, there are no rules for sure. This is just me giving some ideas. If you're having trouble building clusters, think that small, medium, large often helps. Just sort of give you a good visually appealing looking type of embellishment. And so just some ideas that hopefully spark some ideas for when you create your next embellishment clusters for your pages. I also am a huge fan of the visual triangle, so I do a lot of 3 embellishment groupings on my pages. And so for me, this is just the natural progression of how I put my clusters together. So I thought it would be fun to share and kind of walk through. I do apologize that this didn't end up being a real-time video, but needless to say, this is how you see me playing right now is basically what I do when I'm working on my pages. Sometimes I will cut this piece out, and what you'll see is me already having designed it and then showing it to you after while I'm creating the page on my process videos. But this is essentially what I do every single time. And I did for this second sort of, this is my medium-sized embellishment. I am showing you a bit more of that tedious back and forth process. So I've pulled multiple florals. I have a little label sticker. I'm not looking to use the exact same florals in each of my embellishment clusters. All I'm doing, because I'm using the same collection, it makes it really easy to keep with all of the same colors. So all I'm doing is just playing with the placement. This one's smaller, so this one doesn't have quite as much in it as maybe the first one does, or actually this one might even have a little bit more. I kind of think this one might hold even a bit more embellishment. And I'm kind of showing you there's a few places that I'm leaving where I'm going to fill in with something in the collection to the side, the non-paper elements. I know I want to leave some spots that I can place enamel dots or wood veneer or something that gives me that additional different texture to my embellishment clusters. And the florals, a lot of times it's the florals, but whatever embellishment I have that kind of comes to the top of the embellishment cluster, that's the one that typically I'm going to pop up on dimensional adhesive. So I'm also keeping that in mind. So the blue floral in that top cluster, the heart, one of the hearts in that second embellishment cluster, and a few other pieces do get popped up, and I'm hoping that I show that in the later pieces of the video, but if I don't, hopefully you can kind of see that in the finished process. So I am making all of these embellishment clusters, and then I am going to show at the end, they'll just be photos at this point, but you will see a completed layout with the 3 embellishment clusters that I end up pulling and using for the page, which I created. So here I'm creating what would be like the smallest embellishment cluster. And as I said, I'm going to make more than what I'm going to use on the page. So here again is an even smaller. So just to show you that you can go as small as a label, and in this case, this one's pretty small, and still make an embellishment cluster and add your bits and pieces and just give it just a little bit more interest and dimension. You're going to see here once I sort of figure out what I want to place in this cluster. I'm going to have, again, this one created. I'm laying them all off to the side here so you can kind of see them all together. And then off camera, I do glue all of these down because it would be very tedious to watch me put all of these down. One of the things that I am talking about is I do plan to put not embellishments, but enamel dots in the center of a lot of the florals. So I'm making note of wanting to make sure my floral centers that I want to have an enamel dot in, there's a spot for that. So here you see I've gone ahead and made a few more clusters off camera. So now I have quite a few. The only thing I decided to do, or not do, I should say, was attach the butterflies to the embellishment clusters themselves. I decided that I would put the butterflies with the embellishments that I thought I wanted them to be with. And then knowing that off camera, I'm going to pop those up. So that's what you see me doing here. And now I did show one of the hearts that I do have the foam adhesive, and that is the case. Like I said, on each embellishment cluster, I have something popped up. And here's where I'm coming in to each of my embellishment clusters, and I am adding that extra textural element to each of the clusters. So in all of these embellishment clusters, I do end up adding thread. I liked the look with this particular collection. I liked the bald thread, so I added that to each of the embellishment clusters. I've gone ahead and added a flare in the largest embellishment cluster. Now I'm coming in with some of these wood pieces and some of these fabric hearts. I have some that are glitter, some that are felt, I believe. And then I have some little glitter bows. I've gone ahead and put that in one of my clusters. I'm using both a navy and a green thread, and so that's what I'm balling up here. So I'm doing some with navy, some with green. And again, I am just going to add that. And then here is where I'm also going to take the enamel dots, and in some of the florals, I'm going to add the enamel dot. They kind of make that perfect kind of center for some of the florals. I did think about adding sequins, but I decided to hold off on that. I thought I might use them on the page itself, which I don't actually think I end up doing for this page, which you'll see in the close-ups coming up here in just a moment. But I'm going to continue to build out my clusters, adding in these enamels, and I'm talking about the different elements that I could add. I've pulled way more just to give you examples than what I end up using, but I do really like the mix of using the enamel and the fabric hearts for that sort of textural element that it gives, plus the wood veneer. So I really love all of the dimension, and I've added that heart. I've left those places where I needed to add something to kind of build out the rest of the clusters, so I've gone ahead and added a heart in there. And basically at this point, the embellishment pieces are done. I'm going to go off camera and glue them down, and then in just a moment the still photos for the layout are going to be coming up. So be sure to check out the blog post and Traci's many beautiful collections that you can have lots of fun creating embellishments with. And with that, guys, I'll catch you on the next one. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.